This is the KRMG Afternoon News with Skylar Cooper.
Time for the BA Breakdown here on the KRMG Afternoon News. I'm Skylar Cooper, joined live by Broken Arrow City Manager Michael Spurgeon. How are you, sir?
Skylar, I'm doing very well. It's a beautiful day out there, and I've been looking forward to visiting with you to update folks on whatever you want to talk about regarding Broken Arrow.
Well, I wanted to start with something. We actually told people about it yesterday, but I figured since we're on the topic, we should ask you as well, and that is the survey the city's putting out for parks and recreation. As I understand it, you want to get a better feel for what people want to see at the parks in Broken Arrow, and I remember the new one, Elam Park, being in there by name. So what do you hope to learn from this survey?
Well, we think this is a great opportunity for residents to provide their input on potential future park and recreation capital improvement projects for next year's bond package. Folks told us in our survey last that parks and recreation is a very important factor for community livability and quality of life. In fact, 78% of Broken Arrow residents think parks and recreation is an important factor of why they choose a community. And so what we're really trying to do is to start to drill down on which specific improvements the folks that take the survey would like to see in our parks and recreation. As you know, we're talking about putting on before the voters a new community center in Elam Park in the southwest part of our city. There's also a lot of other basic recreation and park improvements that we need, but there's also opportunities to expand trails. A lot of folks say we need a new dog park in the north part of our community, more sand and volleyball courts in Nienhaus. Pickleball is huge. And so when you have a limited amount of funds for a proposition, really narrowing down what we could actually do, we're going to base that on what the citizens have to say. And that's why we're asking for the survey.
While we're on the parks, I actually have checked out the Rose Garden under construction at Central Park a few times. The fire pits are there. There's a nice pergola. Do you know about when that'll be done? I was just curious.
I think, well, first off, let's step back. That was a 2018 general obligation bond package that the voters approved, $500,000, and then we added some local money to that, and it's going to be beautiful. And I think it's safe to say, based on the current construction schedule, sometime late April or sometime in, I would say, May, if not April, it'll be finished up, and we'll be having the traditional ribbon cutting ceremony.
Broken Arrow City Manager Michael Spurgeon. This is the BA Breakdown on KRMG. Now let's move over to this pilot program, trying to get people to bring their film productions to Broken Arrow. We've heard a lot about TV and films happening in Oklahoma in the last couple of years, and we went through some of those last hour. But tell me about this program that Broken Arrow has now.
Well, I think most people would agree that watching movies, albeit at the local cinema, like the Warren Theater here in Broken Arrow, for example, or at home, through one of the streaming services, it's still one of the most greatest leisurely activities people like to do periodically. And I can tell you, Oklahoma has the opportunity to actually bring some films we already have specifically here to Broken Arrow. I'll mention that in just a second. Is that what we want to do is we want to put some funding up from our tourism tax that comes from hotel and motel usage to actually try to incentivize movie companies to come to Broken Arrow. There are 4 or 5 communities in Oklahoma that have already done this. We're going to set aside $100,000, which once again comes from our lodging tax, and we're going to limit that in certain categories to reimbursements for expenses incurred shooting filming here in the city of Broken Arrow.
This is so unrelated. Who would you want to play you in a movie? Who could play Michael Spurgeon?
Who would play? Well, I can tell you, when I was much younger, James Caan, people would say, you talk and you walk like James Caan. He was one of my favorite actors. I haven't really thought about who would play me right now, but that's a good question. I'll have to think about it. All right, you caught me off guard there.
Well, my brain just goes off on tangents. I also want to ask you about one more thing before we run out of time here with City Manager Michael Spurgeon. And I know you've been doing updates with the City Council on the next bond issue in 2026, and we've provided some updates for folks along the way. Where is that process, and when do you think the list will get narrowed down to what people will be, proposed projects?
Well, the survey that we're doing is, as you know, will be done by the end of this month, and that's a key element. We're planning on presenting all of the proposed projects to the City Council in a formal meeting, probably multiple meetings, and during the month of June for the council to give us direction to start narrowing that list of projects down to within the dollars we're going to have available. And just a reminder is this would be a no tax rate change, so no new taxes for the voters to consider in April of 2026. what we'll do is, from the council direction, we'll schedule 3, maybe 4 public forums right around Labor Day, let everybody get back into school and get back into their routines, to allow the engagement with the public on the type of projects we're considering for each proposition. And then from there, we'll start narrowing things down, and then council will ultimately make a decision on which projects actually will make the package and go before the voters in either December or January of next year.
BA City Manager Michael Spurgeon. We do it every Tuesday. It's the BA Breakdown. We'll talk again next week. Thank you, sir.